What I'd like each one of us to do is, why don't you guys do a bit of an introduction about yourself, what your company exactly does and so forth. And then we'll go and I have a couple of generic questions and a couple of very specific questions for you guys. Yeah, please, Arvind.
Yeah, you can hear me, right? Okay. Yeah, so I'm Arvind, and yeah, I have 3 decades of cybersecurity experience. I don't think anybody has in this room.
So cybersecurity was that old.
Yes, it is. I was doing antivirus for DOS. There was no Windows. So I started my career in '94. I was part of a startup called Nashaft. So that was headed by Narendra Kumar. And we were the #1 antivirus company in 1995. And so we wrote antivirus for Windows because it was not there. So then Windows 95 came. So we write antivirus for Windows. And Microsoft actually came to us to actually bundle our antivirus with Windows. So we used to sell for 2,000 rupees, one copy, but Microsoft asked for 200 rupees. So we said no to them. Microsoft actually came to Level A Road in Bengaluru that time, 94, 95 actually. So that is my start, and then after that I went to US and I worked for McAfee for 2 decades. McAfee for 2 decades. So I built enterprise products called ePolicy Orchestrator. So it has more than 30,000 customers now. And now McAfee is called Trellix. Then I wanted to move back to India. So 2013 I moved back. And then I wanted to work for an Indian cybersecurity company. So I joined Sequretek. So Securetek is something we do. We are a product cybersecurity company. We have multiple products. And we do real-time threat hunting. And so we have a framework called CTEM. So that's about me. So I'm a lot of years in cybersecurity. Thank you.
And just a quick piece about what your company does.
Yeah. So
few lines.
Yeah. So we have a CTEM framework, that is a continuous threat exposure management. So we have a SOC, Security Operations Center, which runs 24/7, and basically security cannot sleep. So we monitor all our customer for any kind of attacks. And it's very difficult to detect the attack, but it's more of like a damage control after the attack happens. But we try to detect it before. So we have more than 100 customers and multiple products. We also have a EDR product. We also have identity product, and we're building a compliance product.
Got it.
I'm Ashok. I'm the founder and CEO of IDfy. My background, I'm an engineer. I did my undergrad in the US, worked in the US in the semiconductor space. I don't know. I used to build high-speed network processors in my previous life, came back to India. Worked in Bangalore for a bit, and then went back again to London. Came back, got very bored with my jobs in the past, and then started IDfy about in 2011. So we've been around for about 14 years. IDfy, what we do at IDfy is we essentially, our motto is eliminate fraud and establish trust in transactions. What that means is we essentially help in detecting fraud at the point of onboarding. If you have done your KYC with Paytm, PhonePe, Amazon Pay, Ola Money, if you have done HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, practically, if you have done KYC in this country, probably I have your data. I don't do anything wrong with it. I shouldn't say any these kind of things in front of the cybersecurity guys, but we completely delete the data the moment we get it, but we do get it, right? Uniquely, we have identified about 300 million people. That is practically everybody who's digitally savvy in the country. We do close to about 65 million authentications a month, and this is across use cases from banking to gaming to if your delivery executive at Amazon is authenticated by us, Zomato delivery executives are authenticated by us. So we are kind of using not just BFSI but across use cases. And we just launched our privacy stack, which is a DPDP compliance stack. We'll talk, I think That's the next question coming, so I'm not going to go too much dwell into that too much, but I'll talk about it later.
Hi everyone, my name is Vishal, and I thought Bangalore was this jeans and t-shirt kind of place, so I was feeling a little, and I continue to feel a little underdressed. You at least have the jacket on. I'm the yeah, that's where you stop. That's where you stop. I'm the CEO of Seclore. Seclore is started as a university incubated project at IIT Bombay around 2011 also. And today we are in the data-centric security space, and the basic thesis behind the company is that security is going to move more and more away from infrastructure like networks, applications, and devices, and more and more closer to data. Right? So as long as the data itself is secure and private and compliant and so on, most enterprises will not care about the infrastructure. Right? And that the responsibility of the secure infrastructure will move towards the service provider, right? Like the network provider or the device provider or the application provider, right? That's the basic thesis. And Seclore in that goal has been, chipping away at the problem for the last 14 years. Fast forward today, we have some of the largest enterprises in the world, companies like Ford, GM, American Express, Aramco, ICICI, HDFC, and the like. Some of the largest enterprises in the world use Seclore to protect, and government agencies. So the whole defense establishment in India, in the Middle East, and so on. All of these large enterprises use Seclore to make security and compliance go to the data and away from infrastructure. Right? So that's what we do. We are about 400 people currently, split largely across North America, Middle East, and India. And the India business is growing, but today it contributes about 15% of our total revenue. Growing very, very rapidly. Right. So that's what I do.
Thank you. Hey, I'm Sandesh, CTO at Bureau ID. Some of us, we spoke about security and fraud, continuing the same trend, and what Ashok explained, what we do overlaps with somewhat what Ashok does partially. But basically, we are into fraud detection. Our view is all fraud problems are data problems, and we solve it through graph neural networks and fraud rings. Solving for fraud rings have been our biggest differentiator. We would have networks of 100 million plus devices, few 100 million plus identities. Combined, how does it look in a graph constructed way? And I'll go through in detail and as we speak through in rest of the session. But our major differentiator from the traditional fraud identification has been, don't look at the fraud problem in isolation, look at fraud in rings and networks and relationship across industries. So our vision is we will break not only data silos within business unit, within organization, you'll have to break data silos across industries to solve fraud. Couple things about me. I'm been with Bureau for about 2.5 years as the CTO. Prior to it, I spent long time at Amazon, building their cross-border tech stack, which included how safely, reliably you can order. If you're sitting in India and if you've tried to order from Amazon.com, my code probably is something what you would have used to order, ship product reliably. Prior to it, I spent, again, e-commerce, Target. Took the Target from, was one of the key architects in migrating Target from a traditional on-prem, non-digital retail player to a cloud-based digital player.
Hi, this is Shahrukh from CloudSEK, and I've been building CloudSEK for the last 8 years. CloudSEK is a cybersecurity company based out of India, and we help companies around the world predict their cyber threats. So I'll keep it short. I think more information in the questions coming. We'll talk about the problems that I see, the Indian companies have in terms of their third-party risk, in terms of their attack surface risk, in terms of their digital risk generally, right? Yeah, so I'll just keep it short for now, and then let's go on to the questions.
Great. So if you look at this panel, I think we have got two guys more into identity and fraud, and the rest of you, three of you are more focused on overall cybersecurity space, right? with attack surface, and then more from a SOC standpoint and so forth, right? So I'll go first with the fraud and identity. And incidentally, I'm going to give a personal reference. Just a few days back, last week, I moved from US to India, and I suddenly realized that some transactions and so forth happening out of my Vanguard account. Immediately, frantically, I call up, right? So my identity has been compromised, and funds have been moved, right? So again, just a kind of a quick classic example. I think every one of us is facing this one point or the other. So looking from a global perspective, India perspective, coming up with all these DPDP laws, privacy laws as well, what are we seeing in India? I mean, to a certain extent, I feel, back with OTP and so forth, India felt slightly more secured compared to the US. US OTP came kind of later. But looking at the overall globally what's happening, in India what's happening, what are the kind of latest technologies and so forth coming up in terms of identity? And of course, the next question would be on the fraud side as well, please.
So, I'll give so one of the things with India, India is like the capital of what I would call scam frauds that are happening in the country. If not only country, but this is where scams originate. There's a call center in Calcutta with 100 people who have bought a license of Salesforce to do. They have a CRM management system. They are taking data from data brokers in the country, and they now attack. Right now, so India is at this point, and they're doing this. They're scamming US people. They're scamming Indians, obviously, and lot of it is what I would call, if I look at sophistication of fraud, or how it's not attacking at the systems, it's actually attacking at psychology and running it as you either fear or greed, right? That's what they use. To kind of take over an account. In your case, maybe they found your account details because it was leaked by somebody else, probably.
This was an identity.
What
happened was they looked at Equifax, got my credit report, ID report, got a bunch of stuff.
So one of the biggest problems in the kind of fraud that you had, not the scam type of thing, right? So these are two types that happen here. The access to data in India, especially personal data, is you can get it anywhere, right? Let's say you post a house on rent on Magic Bricks. Magic Bricks is selling your data without your permission. Bajaj Finserv, where do they get your numbers from? Have you ever thought about it? How many times? Okay, let me ask this: how many times do you get calls from either a builder or a Bajaj Finserv a day? 5 to 6, right? Where did they get your data? They bought it from somewhere, right? Either there's a data broker they buy that data from. That data, once they get the data, it is relatively easy then to find other details. Now, how do they find the other details? If you look at CKYC, which is Sarsai, you don't need an OTP to take an account over in Sarsai. You just need a PAN number. Getting a PAN number in this country is not hard. It's relatively easy. You can find it anywhere. In fact, some of the government websites themselves list all your PAN number. If you have given up your CNG, you've been more magnanimous and said, I've given away my CNG quota or your LPG quota, all your details are publicly available. Right?
What you are saying is, in India, we have got access to the data in the globally, but so is it difference between an actual highlighting or getting into the system versus just pure play scam? That's the difference.
Yeah, one is you get your data. Once you get the data, you can run scams, or you can you can get a loan on your behalf. Like let's look at how TU does this, right? TU TransUnion is supposed to take, you have to give permission in order to get your credit bureau report or to issue or to look up. But when a bank looks it up, they assume that deemed consent. Like they don't ask for an OTP. So they are assuming that a bank has done the necessary checks in order to check that you are who you are. But the bank also kind of how do they do KYC? 70% of all KYCs in this country is physical. Physical is the worst way to do KYC. Anybody can take over an account.
Got it.
Anybody can open an account on your behalf, because you give physical data, you ask the branch manager, he will do it. So a lot of this is, I think, just bad systems and processes, right?
So Ashok, I'll come back to the what kind of technologies and so forth.
Yeah, I'm just
later.
giving you the sense of how
Right,
it happens.
the sense of the problem globally versus India. You gave us a good piece.
Just adding on to
Sandesh,
that.
yeah, please.
Yeah. So one more major differentiation in addition to what Ashok said is how easy to transfer money in India compared to other countries, right? So because so easy to transfer money, there are so many people who are ready to lend their account for illegal activities. And now you build system with LLMs. Anybody can build a system where you can actually rotate account and crawl through the fraud without being noticed by any systems which you got a call for, right? You could use just 5 transactions, 50 rupees a day, and you're renting your account. And I'm rotating among thousands of such accounts. So very easy to build a system because it's very easy to transfer money from one person to the other. This is a large scam that we are seeing.
Mule accounts. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
So Sandesh, I mean, that's exactly was my next question. As fraudsters are getting more sophisticated, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from an AI standpoint, what kind of, you mentioned about these networks, those insights AI is giving you. Can you give me a couple of examples of this?
Sure.
And again, my question was globally versus in India. Are these networks or the AI pieces completely different approaches that you are seeing? But overall, from a diagnosing that this is a fraud or not, what kind of insights, are these rule-based engines, are these AI-based engines? Would love to get your thoughts.
Sure. So just a caveat, AI is not equal to Gen AI, right? For me, AI is everything to do with machine learning, neural networks, because we have gone back to debating what is AI. But if you're dealing with, as Ashok also said, 800 million plus or a billion of identities, imagine an identity having 1,000 plus data point on one device. There are thousands of data points. Given an identity, there are thousands of data points. Only way in real time you can detect how reliable that identity is only through leveraging AI, right? There's no other technological alternate that exists. So for us, on detecting fraud, the biggest differentiator, as I said, is all these frauds, the one that I was explaining on when somebody rents their account or transfers money illegally, all happens through rings, right? Traditional ring, right? Okay, ring. So, example, one of the largest food player in India, when we looked at their data sets, right? There were 3 devices had created 15,000 different customer IDs, completely absorbing their promotional budget, right? So there are Telegram groups where you can say, if you are ordering food from X app, just tell us, we'll order, you'll get 50% discount, and I get to keep some percentage of it, right? So we looked at the data and we said, we came up with the fraud ring, which said, you have got actually 3 users, but from your point of view, they look like 15,000 users, because we could see the ring, how they are connected, that from one user to other user to other user to other, right? Actually, they were just 3 different users. And now, once you know these 3, anytime, any other, again, this is all non-PII that I'm referring to, right? You can uniquely fingerprint a device for fraud detection, because without using IMEI or any of the numbers or any details that exist in your phone. So once you're able to build this graph and extend it to a different business unit in the company, for some, we're just solving the data silos they had. And now once you do it beyond the company, we're solving the data silos of fraud within industry. While fraud is contextual, like a fraud for a Swiggy, Zomato may not be a fraud for an HDFC, ICICI, but there is still a lot of overlap as well, right? So we're breaking the fraud by business unit, by industry, and then for across the digital ecosystem to say, you have to look at fraud just not on an individual identity basis. You have to look at holistically to see how the connection is, how much they are connected, how network is in play to game your system. So this is only possible when you use graph neural networks or advanced machine learning techniques to go and play with.
Gosh, Sandesh, I have so many questions on this, but anyway, we'll revert offline. So shifting more into the cybersecurity kind of a world, attack paths world and so forth, I think Arvind and Syed, I'd love to ask you guys, again, more from what kind of, so two questions I have, and you guys can just pick. One is, what kind of attack paths are we really seeing in India, right? Where are these attacks coming from? Are these coming from, unlike what Ganesh and Ashok are seeing, are these coming from fraudsters and so forth? Or are these more kind of, state actors from China or from Eastern Europe, Russia and so forth, right? What kind of attack paths are coming, and from a overall attack surface standpoint, right? If you start looking at Indian companies, enterprises versus new age startups, the typical Indian or even MNCs out in India and so forth, who are the most exposed? What are we seeing in the market, and compared to our attack surface, how do we stand as compared to global? I would love to get these two questions answered. Any one of you please.
See, India right now is a very expanding market, right? I mean, we have seen businesses.
Expanding for hackers or expanding for?
See, whenever expansion happens, right, money comes in, and this money goes into building products, solving problems, and attackers want a piece of it, right? And whenever the revenue will grow, the bad guys will come in trying to snatch away, let's say, by doing fraud, by stealing data, selling it off on the dark web. Multiple ways for them to monetize it, monetize this revenue growth. In India, SME, are not very well prepared at this point of time in terms of either you say cybersecurity maturity or you call it risk management. They have to work a lot on setting these things right. But then if you look at the picture from the other side, if you consider the velocity, if you consider the AI boom now, everyone is going to solve these problems at a much larger scale, at a much faster speed. So obviously the trade-off will be that if you go and build so many services for the people, for the next 5 years, you will not be, from day one, be able to secure all of them. The question is, can you prioritize your risk, understand that, if you solve the 20% of the problem, it will give you 80% of the protection that you want in running a secure business. That way the data of yours, of your customers, of your employees will be secure. So what I have seen is that, in terms of the attacks going on, stealer logs.
Where are they coming from?
Yeah, exactly. So majorly two things. I think we were discussing about it in terms of endpoint versus third-party risk. Right? I was, putting up a point where I see the third-party risk for companies is just skyrocketing. You don't understand. Okay, just think about it this way, right? You're a bank. You're a big bank in India. It's not just your infrastructure that you have to protect. Not just your APIs, not just your applications, not just your databases. You're sharing the data with all your agencies, all your vendors, all your partners. This data includes, preferences of your customers. This data includes tracking on where your cash is going at a given point of time, right? Let's say an ATM. If you share this data as a bank with, let's say, 500 other companies, 500 other vendors, how are you making sure that this data is safely kept at all times? So banks now are approaching this in a very different way. They are trying to include all these third parties under their risk management umbrella. They are trying to invest in tooling, which will give them visibility of where this data is moving. Is it secure? Is it being sold somewhere, for example? So this way, I think it's nothing to worry about right now. Why? Because we expect this boom to happen where more applications will be built. The velocity will increase. At the same time, if companies follow the approach of managing risk in a very calculated way, by making sure that they prioritize the most important things first, probably invest in a attacker's point of view security solution from day one, they'll not have to worry about what's going on out there, right? Because they see their infrastructure from how an attacker will look at, right? So These are some of the trends which I think I would want to conclude on, but would want to hear more about it.
So over to you, Arvind. I think from a Sequretek standpoint, you are focused on real-time threat detection, and you have a global customer base and so forth. So again, what kind of attack paths, attack vectors you are most concerned about? Maintaining a SOC and so forth for these large enterprises. Where are they coming from? Has the patterns changed over the years? Would love to get your thoughts.
Hello. Oh, yeah. Hello. Yeah, so we are a real-time platform. So we believe that security cannot sleep. So we have to monitor 24/7. So currently the attack vectors, mostly phishing attacks, very, very easy to do. Just send one email, that's all. So if you send one email, the user clicks, that's it, you are attacked, because there's so many file-less malwares nowadays. Just click the link and there will be some JavaScript vulnerabilities or something, and it will exploit that and it will then attack you. So that is the most one, the phishing attacks. And then after phishing, most probably it will be ransomware, because once you click it, it is on your system, then after slowly it will try to encrypt your files, then after that it will ask you the ransom. It's very simple. So this is a global thing, but if you look at just India and versus global, what I feel is in India has a lot of insider threats. Insider threats are more in India. That's because our IT, I don't know how many people are from IT here. So if you go to US, in US, IT is very much like, locked down. You cannot touch it. If you want to install something, you have to go through all kinds of permissions. So in India, I think the IT is little liberal. So they will somehow install it, no issues. Then that's how things start. So it's good to be liberal, but if you can handle it, then you can be liberal. Otherwise, you have to be conservative. So in India, that is how the things are. So insider threats, if you look at some of the big attacks happened on AIMS, I think. AIMS had a big situation. So I believe that that's something inside only. So I'm not sure, but something like that. So I think, we have to actually make sure that insider threat, very serious issue. And also our Honorable Home Minister Amit Shah has told that cybersecurity is national security. It is equivalent. So if you look at the way the war started from Russia to Ukraine, the first is, they actually did the cyber war first. The first day it was cyber war only, because Russia stole all the passwords and all kinds of stuff, and they started the war with cyber first. Then the conventional war started. So this is how it will be in the future, because it's very difficult to avoid wars, but this is how it will be. So you have to take it very, very seriously, and I hope we can do that. Because if you look at Israel also very good at cybersecurity, because they always have some border conflicts. So they always think about how to protect themselves. So they are very, very good. So yeah.
New age warfare.
Yeah, it's a new age warfare, and that's how you win. It's very difficult to avoid wars. So I hope we can, but that's how it is. So that's why we are a real-time cybersecurity company, and looking at expansion in even the Middle East and all that. Yeah.
So Vishal, over to you. I'd love to kind of understand, historically we have been having a perimeter-centric approach, right? And at Seclore, you guys are doing more of a data-centric approach. How is it different as compared to the perimeter-centric approach? There's no perimeter, frankly speaking, these days, right? Data is all over. Love to get your thoughts on how, and from a data-centric approach, how does the privacy regulations, rules, regulation, and so forth apply? If you can give some thoughts around.
Sure. I think the evolution in the security space has been a realization that even though whoever is attacking, whether it's a third party or an insider or whoever, there is no requirement for that entity to go after a system like a network or a device or an application, right? That's usually not the goal. The goal for anybody to do pretty much anything is that they want to go after the data. right? So for example, your identity getting compromised, once you go down and ask at the level of 3 whys, right, it will finally come down to some amount of your data, right? Username, password, PAN numbers, whatever, right? Something has got compromised, right? So making sure that the ultimate objective of whoever is, the bad actor is understood, and it's almost without exception data, right? And the challenge with enterprises is that knowing that data is everywhere, what enterprises have historically been doing is what we call the data chase, right? Hey, data is traveling over the network, so I must protect the network. Data is residing on this device, so I must protect the device. Data is going inside this application or to the third party and to the cloud and so on, so I must protect all of this. So, right, so it's a little bit like chasing a chicken, right? It's kind of running all over, and you're trying to clear the path to protect the data, wherever it goes. And our realization here is that all of these are in the category of necessary but not sufficient, because there is really no perimeter, like you mentioned, right? And our insight over there is that security, privacy, compliance, all of these postures there is no option but to move all of that into data and away from infrastructure. So if you look at the broad split of responsibilities, like I was saying earlier, from an enterprise perspective, the only responsibility is, hey, as long as you're protecting data and you're protecting identity, you should be done. Right. And then from a service provider, right, like Reliance, for example, as a service provider, or Dell and Apple as a device provider, or Microsoft and Google as an application provider, they better secure their application or to provide secure infrastructure to start with, right? So at Seclore, what we are doing is that we are going to the enterprise and saying, hey, the security of your data cannot be dependent on the security of Microsoft as an email provider or the third party, right? Let's say the bank is outsourcing its operation to a third party. Your security posture cannot be dependent on the third party's security posture or the security of the device or the network, right? It should be independent of that. And if we look at the evolution of the regulatory framework, right, DPDPA included, right? The clue is in the name itself, right? DPDPA is data, right? The D is for data. GDPR, the D is for data. PIPA is the Personal Information Protection Act. The I is information, and so on. So regulatory frameworks have also moved away from best practices recommendation to being more and more data-centric, right? So the Indian government now doesn't care about, hey, what kind of security postures you have. All, as the government cares about is, hey, are you keeping the data secure?
Correct. That's what matters.
That's what matters, right? So everything is moving, security and privacy both are getting kind of to the lowest, like the atomic level, and the atomic level here is data.
So data can be anywhere, it can move from any place to any place, as long as you are keeping a note on the data, what it has and who has access. That's kind of the approach.
Correct. It's very akin to, I don't know how many, this looks like a young crowd, but if any of you are parents, right, it's almost like, hey, your child is in the house, so you need to secure the house. It's going in the bus, so you need to secure the bus and the playground and the school and so on. Instead of all of that, how about you tell the child himself or herself to follow security practices, right? And if there is trouble, you please call home and so on, right? That's the difference.
Got it. So I'm going to shift gears slightly. So over the past several years, have talked to multiple CISOs in the past, right? Obviously, all the startup founders we talk to and so forth. So for the startups, security is unfortunately the second consideration, right? They're obviously trying to get the product and so forth out. If you talk to the CISOs, I mean, this is the pain point I hear, right? Well, I know I got problems. I know I'm going to get hacked. There are so many problems, issues in my network. I see a dozen companies calling me up, right? Both kind of managed service providers, vendors, and so forth. I freaking don't have the time to evaluate them, right? I have a small team. I am augmenting the team with some managed services providers. If I train a good guy, the next day this person leaves, right? So these guys are under a tremendous amount of stress, okay? And as vendors or investors in vendors, right, we don't get to see kind of the problem. They don't need any more tools. They don't need, right, any more solutions to evaluate. How can you guys think about, so again, this is the problem, this is the issue they are facing, right? Obviously, there are 3,000, 4,000 kind of companies, cybersecurity companies, identity companies, fraud companies in this space, right? How can we make the lives of these CISOs or the startup founders easier? Any thoughts? Is it again, I'm not talking individually, right. As startup founders, you obviously want to sell the technologies and so forth. Sure. But the concept, the pain is different, right? Any thoughts around that? Would love to get your thoughts.
I'll share mine and I'll pass on the mic. I think it will finally come down to focusing on a few things and getting them right? It's virtually impossible to secure everything. Right? I give this example a lot. The most secure computer is the one that never connects to the internet. It's also the most useless, right? So if you try and achieve 100% on security, you'll probably go down to 0 on productivity, right? So striking the right balance and making sure that you're doing that 80-20, right? Hey, here are the 3 things. I think it is Charlie Munger or somebody who invert the problem, right? What are the 3 ways that you can kill your startup from a security perspective? And just as long as you can make sure that you focus on those 3 ways, I think staying under the radar is a good. From the risks, yeah, your top 3 risks are probably contributors to 80%, if not more, of the reasons that your startup will get meaningfully affected because of a security breach, right? Maybe it's customer data. Maybe it's an employee walking away with the source code, right? I don't know, depending on the context. Just focus on the top 3.
Top 3 assets.
Yeah, top 3 risks, assets. In my assumption, and I might have a biased view, right? The data has to be one of the top 3. But if it is not, right? Maybe it's the source code, or it's some kind of secret Coke formula. If you're, that's the. So focusing becomes all the more important as the size of the company reduces, right? That's one thing.
Yeah, I think you asked, the question was how the 3,000 companies, how does a CISO, yeah, somewhat along that line. I have a joke on this. Don't mind, it's on you. As a VC, stop investing in that many startups, dude. Right? The less number of startups, like, he'll have less of a problem. but jokes aside, I think one of the, at least when we are with pretty much all the banks today, right? And what increasing, at least in India, what we are seeing is banks generally don't want to work with multiple vendors anymore. It's just painful. So what has happened, at least I know Bureau, we are competitors, but also have the same VC. And I do get annoyed with him that he invested in them too, but that's where my angst comes from. But the reality is, if you're not full stack, it is hard for a CISO to choose you because there's another vendor that they have to manage. I think as startups are very quickly getting to full stack solutions is what matters, in my opinion, apart from the VC wala thing.
Yeah, I'll just add, the AI angle to it. So I think everyone in this room would have used ChatGPT or a cloud or, so many other toolings available. So the pattern of usage is now that I go ask an assistant, and the assistant tells me in a very consumable, in a very short way, where my weak points are in my infrastructure, let's say. The usage patterns of tooling are going towards conversational, AI kind of patterns. So again, just for the security crowd here, I think today is the first day of NullCon at Goa, right? And we are launching another product from CloudSEK. It's we call it a AI-powered command center, right? Where an analyst doesn't have to go look at any dashboards or see the alerts coming in anywhere. That's very, very reactive. What we do is we give them a simple assistant. You just have to go, log in, ask, okay, today what are my key areas of concern in my infrastructure? If we ask the AI has all the context, all the intelligence that our tooling has collected over the years, over past 10 years. It will correlate all of that because that's what it's supposed to do, right? It's supposed to go through huge amount of data and then understand what's the context. Tell you why this is the number one thing you have to work on. So I would say for a small team, that's very important. It won't take them weeks to triage a simple issue. The AI on a daily basis, every morning will tell you, you have to focus on these three things. Things will move from a bad security posture state to a better one, right? And with AI that can at least converse with you, future AIs will be able to do things for you as well. Let's say, you ask the AI that, what are my top endpoints from where the attackers can get in today. It will tell you, okay, these are the top 3 endpoints which don't have authentication, for example, and you have exposed it to the internet. It can also patch it for you very soon. With agentic into the picture, I would say every security platform or every security product should look at that angle where the work of the analyst doesn't have to take more than few minutes on, let's say, identification, discovery, triaging, any particular step of the entire tool chain. Yep.
Yeah. And as a buyer, right, as a CTO who looks at using InfoSec or security tools, for me, 2, 3. One, as in a startup, the biggest challenge is if you throw me 100 alerts, I don't have anyone to look at it, right? That's a real challenge. So give me decision, not just flag. Flag is not useful. Number 1. Number 2, prevent, right? Can you, as soon as the developer commits and merges, can you stop it then and there and not leak it? Second. Third, help me differentiate GRC and actual security. Like, at least I struggle to see both of them the same because what compliance needs, the checklist don't make you secure. Correct. So if you can help me separate the two.
So just one quick thread. Obviously, AI is getting used in cybersecurity in a big way. But frankly speaking, we have started to look at the reverse as well, right? How do you secure these agentic AI models, the LLMs and so forth? So are your customers or the CISOs and so forth, or not yet maybe the CISOs because these agentic AI are still getting developed at a POC level and so forth. So what are you hearing from your customers? Is that happening globally more? Has India is kind of, the Indian large enterprises are experimenting? Are they coming back to you in terms of, hey, how do we secure this frantic pace of LLM and agentic AI pieces? Or the cybersecurity guys are saying, hey, you know what? Let the R&D guys figure it out. Let them deploy. That's when I come in.
Yeah, I think I think in the our focus is large enterprise. So my view might be a little bit of keyhole view, but the biggest challenge that enterprises are facing in the context of AI is fear of the unknown, right? Once an AI system gets to your data or your intelligence in some way, right? What is it doing with it? Right? Is it hallucinating? Is it actually using it for good purpose? Who all have access to that information and so on is unknown and largely uncontrolled. Right?
But are the CISOs getting involved at this stage?
Absolutely, yeah. And even basic stuff like just Microsoft Office and Copilot want AI to access, right? Unless I get really, really comfortable with the AI system, I can make sure it is on-prem and not shared and so on. I think that's what we are seeing as the enterprise's first reaction, and maybe the second, third, and fourth reactions also, right? I'll not know till the time I can, peek under the hood and see what and that's what we are seeing.
AI, agentic AI founders and so forth are talking, hey, that's why things are never getting deployed. It's POCs and POCs and POCs.
Absolutely. And our solution at least to it is that, we actually have a mechanism by which you can tag digital assets and say, hey, I don't want AI getting into this part. And then no AI can get into this. Right? And that's the first kind of response saying, okay, here is the stuff that I want AI to access, and here is my crown jewels, right? And maybe there are different AI systems or no AI systems.
Any other thoughts, please?
Yeah. There's under the DPDPA Act, there's a specific clause which says that you cannot analyze children's data. Analyze children's data. You cannot analyze, you cannot touch it. Now, most of our systems, let's imagine Byju's, right? to pick that name, but let's imagine Byju's is now selling a course. Now, without analyzing that data...
By the way, is it in GDPR as well?
No, it's not in
okay.
GDPR. It's only in DPDPA. So now, there are two parts of that clause. One is no analysis of children's data, and if you are using children's data or you're collecting children's data, you need parental consent. There are two clauses. And under the... there is no rule on AI in DPDPA specifically, but there's a separate AI regulation in the country which prevents usage of AI using the training data. You need to be very clear that it is, after the training, it is cleaned up and deleted, etc. And where do you get the data from also matters. Like you cannot go fetch data from sites which have, by mistake, made it public. That's not allowed, right? Now, under these two acts, what happens is, now, if you cannot analyze children's data, then you cannot do machine learning on that. So you need data separation between the children's data and adults' data. In today's systems, regardless of which fiduciary, be it a bank or Paytm or whoever else, I don't think we have thought through data separation. We have not thought through data tagging. We have not thought through where did we acquire this data from, because all of this then becomes relevant in what happens in the future. And CISOs, at least the ones that we talk to, are shit scared of it at this point. And they're all scrambling really because the DPDP Act the rules will be notified in a couple of months. And they have 18 months to comply. I think the time is too short to get all this ready, because it's crazy the way the infrastructure has been built in the past.
Arvind, Saad, any thoughts on this whole agentic AI, LLM, cybersecurity?
So I agree with them. The only thing I want to add is, after we develop the AI model with very less bias, I mean, it's very difficult to remove the bias from AI model, but there is something called poisoning. That means the attackers are actually poisoning so that AI is not effective. So they're actually giving poison to that, and then they're trying to, become undetectable. So that is another issue.
So quick piece, red teaming or pen testing of AI models, agentic AI problems, is that a space we should seriously look at?
You already invested in it,
no? No, we have not invested. We have not invested as yet. Fire Compass is different. Fire Compass is just the generic cybersecurity, obviously AI-based cybersecurity. But we are looking at the reverse, cybersecurity and privacy for the AI models and agentic AI models. Yeah. Please.
So I just mentioned, right, we just launched a AI agent or an assistant that you can talk to. So obviously when we roll it out to our customers, we don't want it to be jailbroken or, having data problems.
Testing those agents.
Exactly. So testing these AI interfaces is like a specific problem in itself. There are multiple techniques that we have seen. I'm pretty sure you would have heard about the launch of DeepSeek a month back or so. And the day it launched, everything was disrupted, at least in our daily conversations. But then you would see a couple of days later, every company was able to hack into DeepSeek and their infrastructure. So they moved fast, they made something groundbreaking, but then they missed to protect their AI, right? So I think that risk is not just with foundational models, that risk is with even applications that use these foundational models. They have to take care of at least the interface part, where at least, if a user is giving you an answer, you would make sure that the common things like prompt injection, at least those don't affect your models, the applications that you build on top of them. So when we release any of these tools, we thoroughly test them for any kind of prompt injections, any kind of jailbreaking techniques. Whatever exists out there, you must know what is the 20 ways. What are the 20 ways through which people are hacking any foundational or non-foundational AI model right now? And whenever you plan to release your own, you must make sure that you try those things out internally. It's just like VAPT, but then with new techniques in this new age of AI.
Sorry, I think we are out of time, right? Or do we have one question from the audience, please? Please, yeah. Can you get a mic to him, please?
Hi everyone.
Just shout.
Don't worry, just shout it out and we'll repeat the question.
Hello. Yeah. So I am from a company called Dyname. We provide intellectual property services. I just wanted to ask one question. So let me paint a picture. So based on our discussion, we concluded that the data is readily available online for everyone. So following cybersecurity, if you are following cybersecurity in mobility newses, so Kia was recently hacked using the vehicle license plate numbers, as well as a similar incident occurred with Tesla. So if this is if this easily done abroad, what are the chances of it happening in India, and on which scale? Because we have seen multiple riding apps, they just provide similar OTP for each and every rides. So what do you think? Do we have any such provisions currently happening for mobility in India to provide some solutions for these problems?
Okay, yeah. So first I would say that OTP, the name should be changed. It should be changed to OTS, one-time secret, instead of password. Okay, people just share that. I don't know why people share passwords in India. So the first thing. The second thing is, so OTP is one way to protect. The second thing is you can come up with another factor, right? Like multi-factor authentication. That can make it much, secure. And obviously training, knowledge, those things. But attack will happen for sure. It's very difficult to protect. Yeah. Anybody else?
So I just wanted to say that these OTPs can be used to collect information from the user information if they are linked in certain way to an account, because same OTP is being provided for each and every ride. Similarly, when Kia was hacked, it was hacked based on the license number plates which were taken from the user itself, because license number plates can be seen by everyone. So basically they are hacked, and user data can be collected from their basically wherever they have stored the data. So do you think anything is happening related to this in India to protect?
Actually, if you go to any, actually you can try this. Go to Vahan, and you take any license plate number, whatever you see, type it up. You'll get the name, you'll get the phone number of the guy, you'll get his license plate number. That's provided by the government. So India, honestly, the attack surface is pretty weak. Even the government is releasing data publicly, right? So how do you secure something when the data is available in so many places? You can't secure it at a bank level, but then it's anyway available outside.
Isn't that going to be covered in the DPDP Act? My license plate, my property.
But the government is, there's a carve out for government, which is so weird, right? Because how can the government be carved out from that? Anyway, I shouldn't be recorded on this.
Anyway, I think we are almost at the fag end, right? So I would suggest that we take some of these discussions online. But frankly, I really enjoyed the conversation with all of you guys. I think we would have gone up for a couple of hours at least, right? But individually, would love to get to know all of you. Please. Thank you. Thank you.